When Xerxes I became king of Persia in 486 BC, he inherited the greatest empire the world had ever seen. Stretching from Central Asia to the Mediterranean, it was a realm of unimaginable wealth and diversity. In 490 BC, an Athenian-led coalition had defeated them decisively at the Battle of Marathon, and Xerxes wanted revenge. It would take 3 years of intense preparation, but in 480 BC, Xerxes assembled the largest invasion force in all of ancient history and set out to punish those who defied the great god-king. So let's talk about that invasion today. What happened when Xerxes invaded Greece? Rule number 1 of historical storytelling: if you want to make your protagonist look good, surround them with a bunch of crappy sidekicks. And believe me, we have plenty of those here. First, we have Queen Gorgo of Sparta, whose idiocy has already been demonstrated by her decision to marry her daughter off to the failed tyrant Cleomenes. Then we have the Arcadian League, an alliance of city-states in the Peloponnese that decided to throw their lot in with the Persians because they hated the Spartans. And finally, there's the Persian satrap of Lydia, a man so dim-witted he literally mistakes Xerxes for his brother. Oh boy, this is going to be fun. Anyway, after assembling his massive army and navy, Xerxes led his invasion force across the Hellespont into Europe. Xerxes established a supply base at the Hellespont and then began his advance into Greece proper. We don't know exactly how long this took, but it probably wasn't long because everyone was super scared of the Persians. And when you have an army that big, that's pretty easy. The only major city that resisted was Athens, which Xerxes looted and destroyed. And once that was done, he turned his attention to the north. His goal was to trap the Greeks in central Greece, where he could encircle them and destroy them. This plan required him to send some of his forces east to secure Thermopylae, a narrow mountain pass that led to the rest of Greece. The main army would then move up to the north and cut off any potential Greek reinforcements. So far, so good. And the first engagement of the campaign went very well for the Persians. A Spartan force of 7,000, including 4,000 elite hoplites, tried to block the pass, but they were totally wrecked. The hoplites were driven back to the city of Plateau, where they regrouped and retreated into the safety of the Peloponnese. With the pass secured, Xerxes moved up north and laid siege to the city of Phocis. Again, the defenders were totally overwhelmed, and the city fell with barely a whimper. At this point, Xerxes had demonstrated the awesome power of the Persian war machine. Greek resistance seemed completely futile, and the god-king felt confident that the rest of the campaign would go just as smoothly. So he continued north into Boeotia, where he intended to set up his winter camp. The locals tried to stop him, but they suffered the same fate as everyone else, and Xerxes marched on to the city of Thebes. Now, Thebes had recently emerged as a major power in Greece, thanks to its success in the Corinthian War, and the city was full of confidence. But Xerxes didn't care. He attacked and sacked the city, killing or enslaving almost everyone inside. It was at this point that he received word that something was happening at Thermopylae. Now, what actually happened at Thermopylae is a matter of some debate, but the basic story goes like this. After the battle at the Hot Gates, a group of 300 Spartans, along with 700 Thespians and others, decided to stand their ground and keep the Persians from advancing further into Greece. They held out for 2 days, but on the 3rd day, a local named Ephialtes revealed a secret mountain path that the Persians used to bypass the defenders. The Spartans then made their famous last stand, fighting to the death rather than surrendering to the Persians. So why are we talking about this obscure little battle? Because it was epic. Spartan discipline and courage is legendary, and the story of Thermopylae perfectly encapsulates that. These 300 men knew they were vastly outnumbered, but they stood their ground anyway, fighting until every single one of them was dead. For their part, the Persians fought with equal ferocity, but they were unable to break through the Spartan lines. In fact, they struggled so much that it looked like they might lose. Imagine being Xerxes. You've just spent a year marching your massive army across the Aegean. You've crushed every Greek force you've encountered. And then, at Thermopylae, your elite troops are struggling to beat back a tiny band of Spartan misfits. It must have been terrifying. Even though the Persians eventually won, it was a costly victory. And it should have given Xerxes pause. But instead, he kept moving his army north into Attica. He pillaged the countryside around Athens, forcing the Athenians to flee to their fortified harbor city of Piraeus. Then, he did the same thing to the city of Delphi, slaughtering the citizens and destroying the temple of Apollo. It was only when he reached the Isthmus of Corinth that he learned that a Greek naval force had defeated the Persians at the Battle of the Artemisium. Now, Xerxes had hoped to use his massive navy to blockade the Greek city-states, but the Greek navy was too strong and the plan had failed. And while Xerxes was fuming about this, he got some more bad news. An Athenian general named Themistocles had convinced the other Greek leaders to attack the Persian fleet. Xerxes responded by sending his generals, Silius and Pisutius, to engage the Greeks, but they were soundly defeated. This is when Xerxes made the fatal error of entering the Persian fleet into the straits of Salamis. The waters were too narrow for his ships, which were too big and unwieldy to maneuver. The result was total havoc. Greek fire ships rampaged through the tight confines of the straits, wreaking havoc on the Persian vessels. By the end of the battle, nearly the entire Persian navy was destroyed. Xerxes watched in horror as his mighty ships burned and sank. And he knew right then that his dream of conquering Greece was over. The God-King made a desperate attempt to escape, but the Greeks were too quick for him. They chased his ships all the way back to Asia Minor, and he barely managed to escape with his life. It's said that when Xerxes returned to Susa, he executed the generals and admirals who had advised him to invade Greece. But obviously, that didn't change the fact that his invasion had failed spectacularly. With his army and navy in ruins, Xerxes retreated back to Persia. Most of his army never made it home, though, as the Greeks pursued them relentlessly. The final battle of the Persian invasion was fought at Plataea in 479 BC, and the Greeks won another decisive victory, ending the Persian threat to Greece once and for all. In the end, Xerxes' hubris led to one of the greatest military failures in all of history. He had set out to conquer Greece, but instead, he had been forced to flee for his life. The God-King was no more. Hey there, thanks for watching. If you liked the video, please hit the like button. And if you want to see more content like this, please consider supporting us. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.